Most campervan buyers in 2026 aren't purchasing freedom, they're purchasing a rolling storage unit for a fantasy they'll never actually live. This video is about buying the right van for the life you're actually going to have, not the one you imagine on a sunny afternoon watching YouTube. Here's what separates the buyers who love their van 5 years later from the ones quietly listing it on Facebook Marketplace at a $15,000 loss. It's not the brand, it's not the layout, it's not even the price, it's decision quality. Minimalism in a campervan is not about buying small, it's about buying precisely. The buyer who spends $70,000 on a van they genuinely need will always outperform the buyer who spends $55,000 on a van they grew into for the first 6 months and are now maintaining for the next 4 years. That's the filter I'm using in this video. Not wow factor, not Instagram aesthetics, total value, platform reliability, and real-world livability for the buyer who wants exactly what they need and nothing they don't. I'm going to show you 5 vans. I'm going to tell you what each one actually costs over time, who it's genuinely right for, and the thing the dealer absolutely will not tell you before you sign. By the end of this, you'll know which van earns your money and which ones are just overpriced anxiety with mood lighting. Let's get into it. The trap. Before the vans, you need to understand the trap, because right now the 2026 campervan market is engineered to spring it on you. Feature inflation. That's the trap. Manufacturers have spent 3 years stacking builds with panoramic roofs, integrated solar management systems, heated floors, and convertible kitchens that require a YouTube tutorial to fold correctly. Every one of those features adds weight, complexity, maintenance cost, and failure points, and none of that shows up on the sticker price. Here's the number almost no buyer looks at before purchasing: cost per functional year. Not the monthly payment, the actual cost after repairs, after the conversion issues surface, after depreciation, after the day you're parked outside Flagstaff with a failed electrical panel in November and your dealer's first available appointment is 18 days away. That day comes for buyers who didn't choose their platform carefully. Almost never comes for buyers who did. The vans on this list were chosen because they survived that day well. Some of them will surprise you. The first van has almost no YouTube coverage, not because it's mediocre, because smart buyers found it before the algorithm did. Van number 1, Benimar Tesoro. The Benimar Tesoro is a compact touring motorhome that sits in a category most European buyers have never seriously considered, and that oversight is costing them tens of thousands of euros. Current Tesoro models are built on the Ford Transit base. That matters more than the Benimar name. The Transit is one of the most commercially serviced man platforms on the continent. Any garage from Lisbon to Warsaw knows this engine. Parts are abundant, mechanics are trained, and the service network doesn't disappear when you leave your home country, which is the exact moment you need it most. Here's the contrast most buyers miss entirely. When you buy a converted panel van, you're buying 2 products, the base vehicle and someone else's conversion work. Every cable run, every plumbing joint, every furniture mount reflects the decisions and the shortcuts of whoever built it, the previous owner you've never met. Benimar has been refining the Tesoro's core layout for over a decade. Everything fits because it was designed to fit, not hammered in until it held. The interior logic is built for real minimalist living. The longitudinal bed doesn't convert. You don't fold it. You don't rearrange cushions at midnight. You get in and you sleep. That sounds trivial until you've spent 3 weeks in a van where you do fold it every single night, and you start to understand why that feature disappears from most buyers' requirements lists by week 2. The financial comparison is stark. A comparable Volkswagen California Ocean costs 20,000 to 25,000 euros more in most European markets. What does that premium buy you? Mostly a badge. The Tesoro gives you the functionality, the build quality, and a platform the whole continent already knows how to fix without the 20,000 euro penalty for the logo on the steering wheel. Who should buy this? European couples and retirees planning seasonal touring who want a factory-finished product at honest pricing. Who should skip it? Daily drivers and urban buyers who need one vehicle for everything. The Tesoro is a dedicated touring vehicle. It does that job exceptionally well and nothing else. The next van costs more, but for a specific buyer, paying that premium is actually the cheaper 5-year decision. The arithmetic is not what most people expect.
Van number 2, Bürstner Campeo. German engineering gets used as a marketing line so often it's lost most of its meaning, so let me be specific about what it actually means in practice, because the Bürstner Campeo demonstrates it in a way you can measure. The Campeo runs on this Fiat Ducato platform where Benimar optimizes for value and layout efficiency, Bürstner optimizes for material tolerance and long-term structural integrity. That difference is invisible in the showroom. It becomes very visible in year 4, when you're driving a mountain road in Austria and every cabinet door rattles on a different frequency, and you realize the van that saved you 8,000 euros at purchase has been quietly asking for it back ever since. Here's the controversial point I'll make directly. Paying more upfront for German assembly quality is not brand snobbery. It is a financially rational decision for anyone planning to hold their vehicle beyond 3 years. Bürstner's depreciation curve consistently holds better than comparable Spanish and French builds in the European used market. The premium at purchase shrinks considerably when you model the 5-year total cost of ownership against a cheaper alternative that requires 4,000 to 6,000 euros in remediation work by year 3. The Campeo's layout options in 2026 are genuinely thoughtful. The rear transverse bed is the minimalist's choice. No wasted floor space, clean access from both sides, no gymnastics at midnight. The kitchen is rear-mounted with a 3-burner hob, a compressor fridge, and enough counter space to cook an actual meal instead of reheating something while standing at an angle. Direct comparison. Against the Detlef's Globe Trail, the Campeo trades some off-road resilience for interior finish quality. Tarmac touring across Europe, the Campeo wins. Regular gravel tracks through Scandinavia, the Globe Trail is a better tool. Know your use case before you choose between them. Who should buy this? Quality-driven European buyers, couples planning extended multi-month touring, anyone who thinks in 5-year cost terms rather than sticker price. Who should skip it? First-time buyers on a strict budget. The Campeo rewards buyers who already know what they want. It's not the right vehicle for discovering what van life actually requires. Now we cross the Atlantic, where the US market has a completely different problem. And this next point makes a lot of buyers defensive, but it's the most important thing to understand before you spend this kind of money. Van number 3, Airstream Interstate 19. The Airstream Interstate 19 is the most polarizing van on this list. Half the audience will say it's overpriced, the other half will say it's the only serious van in the American market. They're both partially right, and the difference between those two positions is whether you're thinking like a consumer or like an asset owner. The Interstate 19 is built on the Mercedes-Benz Sprinter 2500. That platform carries one of the deepest service networks in the Class B segment in North America. Trained technicians, parts inventory, independent specialists, the infrastructure is mature and widespread. When something goes wrong, and eventually something always goes wrong, you are not calling a manufacturer hotline hoping someone recognizes your chassis. You are driving to a facility that has seen this vehicle hundreds of times. Now, the premium question. Yes, the Interstate 19 costs more than a comparable Thor Sanctuary or Road Trek Zion at equivalent spec, but Airstream's resale retention is in a category of its own in the American market. An Airstream 19 purchased today will hold more of its value at the 3- and 5-year marks than virtually any other Class B motorhome available in the US. For a buyer who models this as a 5-year asset, not a depreciating lifestyle purchase, the premium is substantially smaller than it appears on day one. The minimalist case is precise. At 19 feet, this is genuinely compact for a Class B. It fits standard campsites.
The interior finish is at a standard American buyers simply do not get from domestic converters at this price point. Materials hold, systems integrate, consistency between units is real. And this is where buyers accidentally confuse prestige with practicality. The Airstream 19 is not an off-grid vehicle at standard spec. Picture this. 3 days into a summer trip in Utah, you're rationing drinking water, washing dishes from a 2-liter bottle, and your solar isn't keeping pace with the fridge. That's not a hypothetical. That's the real experience of buyers who didn't budget for the electrical and water system upgrades the Airstream needs out of the box. That cost belongs in your total purchase calculation from day one, not as a surprise in month 3 when you're already committed. Who should buy this? U.S. retirees and couples prioritizing build quality, platform reliability, and resale strength. Buyers who treat the van as a 5-year asset. Who should skip it? Budget buyers, committed off-grid users, anyone needing consistent sleeping space for more than 2 adults. Now, this is where a lot of first-time buyers in Europe accidentally leave 12,000 euros on the table. The next van is why.
Van number 4. Ford Transit Custom Nugget. The Ford Transit Custom Nugget gets outsold by the Volkswagen California every year. Not because it's a worse van, because Ford doesn't have Volkswagen's marketing budget, and buyers are paying for that imbalance in ways they don't always recognize. The Nugget is built on the Transit Custom platform, one of the most commercially proven van chassis in Europe, but converted to factory specification at the Westphalia plant. That's not a detail. That's the entire argument. You are not buying a van someone converted in a workshop and sold to a dealer on consignment. You are buying a factory product with a full warranty across the base vehicle and the conversion. That distinction matters enormously the moment anything needs attention. The price gap against the California is the part that makes financially literate buyers stop and recalculate. Depending on spec level and market, the Nugget comes in 8,000 to 15,000 euros below an equivalent California. What does that gap buy you in California terms? Primarily the badge, the community, and the resale premium. The resale point is real and shouldn't be dismissed. If you're buying today with a firm plan to sell in 3 years, the California's residual value advantage is genuine and significant. But if you're buying to use for 5 or more years, that resale gap narrows considerably, and the 8,000 to 15,000 euros you didn't spend on entry sits in your account doing other things in the meantime. Here's the detail most reviews miss. The Nugget's kitchen ergonomics are genuinely better for daily use than the California Beach's kitchen. The counter-positioning relative to the sliding door is more practical. The workflow when you're cooking in a confined space is more considered. VW's California kitchen design carries legacy constraints that Ford and Westphalia weren't bound by, and the result shows when you actually try to use both kitchens back-to-back. Who should buy this? First-time European buyers, retirees who want factory build quality without the VW price premium, anyone planning to hold their van for 5 or more years. Who should skip it? Buyers who prioritize resale above all else, brand-conscious buyers, and anyone planning serious off-road use. The last van on this list is being systematically undervalued by the U.S. market right now, for a reason that sounds logical and turns out to be almost entirely wrong.
Van number 5, Hymer Active. The Hymer Active doesn't get talked about enough in the American market, not because it's a weak product, because Hymer never figured out how to market it, and that gap between product quality and brand awareness is exactly where smart buyers find value. The Active is built on the Ram ProMaster platform. That's a significant detail in your favor. The ProMaster is one of the most widely serviced commercial van platforms in North America. Dealer penetration is deep, independent mechanics know it well, and parts availability is strong coast to coast. You are not buying into an obscure chassis ecosystem. You're buying a Hymer finish conversion on one of the most maintainable platforms available to any Class B buyer in the U.S. market. Here's what makes the Active interesting against its direct competition. The Winnebago Solis runs on the same Ram ProMaster. So does a significant portion of the Thor Sanctuary lineup. Same platform, very different execution. The Active's build finish at equivalent spec is cleaner than most domestic ProMaster conversions. The interior ergonomics are more resolved. The systems are better integrated. Hymer brought European build discipline to an American platform, and the result is a van that punches above what its current used market pricing suggests it should deliver. That pricing point matters. The Active was discontinued, and all available units are now used inventory, currently ranging from roughly $56,000 to $89,000 nationally, depending on year and spec. For a buyer who understands what they're looking at, that's a wide window. You are acquiring a professionally finished, European-engineered conversion on a fully supported American platform at prices that reflect the discontinuation, not the actual quality of the product. The minimalist case is precise. The Active is a genuine two-person van, not a van that technically sleeps four if two of them are children and nobody moves after 9 p.m. Two adults living simply and traveling consistently, the Active handles that use case better than most at its current price point in the U.S. used market. The limitations are real. Fresh water runs short faster than most buyers expect, not in theory, but on day 3 of a summer trip when you're brushing your teeth with what's left in a half-liter bottle, and the nearest campsite with hookups is 40 minutes in the wrong direction. Solar, its standard spec, is basic. Understorage is minimal. For full-timers with layered requirements, this van will frustrate. For the buyer it's designed for, those limitations are irrelevant because they never needed those features anyway. Who should buy this? U.S. couples and retirees who want European build quality on a fully supported American platform at used market pricing that hasn't caught up to the product's actual merit. Who should skip it? Families, dedicated off-grid users, anyone who needs more than 2 consistent sleeping positions, and anyone requiring new inventory. This is a used market purchase only.
Here's what nobody in this space will say out loud. Most luxury campervans are overpriced anxiety with mood lighting. The feature lists that fill manufacturer brochures are not designed around how people actually live in these vehicles. They're designed around how people imagine they'll live in them. Standing in a showroom on a Saturday afternoon, sunlight coming through the panoramic roof, thinking about Tuscany. Tuscany is great, but Tuscany is 3 weeks of your year. The other 49 weeks, you need a van that starts reliably, parks easily, doesn't terrify you every time something makes a new noise, and doesn't require a specialist workshop to diagnose a basic fault. The buyers who are happiest 5 years in are almost never the ones who bought the most impressive van. They're the ones who bought the most appropriate van and spent the difference on the trips themselves. Buy precisely, not aspirationally. The van that fits your actual life will always outperform the van that fits your imagined one. Clean decision framework before you speak to any dealer. European buyer who wants the best value to quality ratio with factory build reliability, Benimar Tesoro. Most undervalued van on this list relative to what it delivers. Start here. European buyer planning long-term ownership who thinks in 5-year cost terms, Bürstner Campeo. Pay the entry premium, it returns it to you in retained quality and lower remediation costs over time. U.S. buyer who wants the most prestigious and resale stable Class B in the American market, Airstream Interstate 19. Go in clear-eyed about the off-grid limitations. Budget the electrical upgrade into your purchase price from day one. European first-time buyer who wants factory quality without factory brand pricing, find a used Ford Transit Custom Nugget with under 40,000 kilometers. In this market, in this segment, that is one of the most rational purchases available. U.S. buyer who wants a professionally finished, minimalist van at a price the market is currently mispricing downward, Hymer Active. That window will not stay open indefinitely. When buyers recalibrate on the Metris platform reality, the pricing corrects. One question to ask before any purchase: what does my actual worst-case trip look like? Not the highlight reel version, the one where it rains for 5 days, you're parked on a side street outside Lyon or Albuquerque, no hookup, and something needs attention. Does this van make that manageable without making you regret the purchase? If yes, buy it. If you're not sure, you haven't found your van yet. Here's what I want to know.
Which fan on this list is the smartest financial decision, and which one do you think is the biggest trap for buyers who don't do their homework? Drop your answer in the comments. I'm not looking for the most popular opinion, I want the most honest one. I'll pin the answer that makes the strongest case. If this changed how you're thinking about your purchase, share it with whoever you're buying with. And if you want the full breakdown on any one of these platforms, real depreciation numbers, known failure points, what to inspect before buying used, tell me below and that's the next video.